Hey everyone, it's Jordan here with today's review of Atelier Sophie 2. Yes, the 11th Atelier game on the Switch. I reviewed most of them. I don't know how many. It's a lot. And we're going to see if this one is as charming as the others. Let's jump in and see what it's all about. Just remember, once we get to 100,000 subscribers, guys, we're going to give away a Nintendo Switch OLED model to one of you. So if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and that bell button. Atelier Sophie 1 came out in 2016, well, in English anyways, on the Vita and PS4. It's been 6 years, and not many Atelier games get a direct sequel, so I'm quite surprised. Of all the modern Atelier games I've played, Sophie would not have been my first bet, but regardless, this picks up pretty sharpish from the end of the first game. If you've never played Atelier Sophie 1, or you passed the age of 30 and forgot the whole plot after an afternoon nap like myself, then luckily there is a short movie to kinda get you up to speed. You can select this from the main menu before starting the game. I wouldn't say it clears up everything for newcomers, but you get to know the main characters, who they are, which is all you really need. The plot of the second game involves But What? A Dream. I like how the titles can be rather explanatory sometimes. So Sophie has left her hometown to go on a bit of an adventure, for two reasons. Firstly, she wants to become an officially licensed alchemist, and secondly, she wants to find a way to give Placta, her mentor, a real body instead of the doll that she currently inhabits. Now, I don't know about you guys, but if I was Placta, I'd be pretty happy with the current situation. I mean, damn. Very early on, she and Placta come across a big-ass tree, at which point a darkly vortex sucks them into a very strange new world. Sophie wakes up alone with no Placta in sight, but after investigating a little bit, she is told of a working alchemist called Placta who is nearby, who turns out not to be the exact Placta she's looking for. Or is she? What a mystery. My first question before playing this game that I wanted to find out was, how would they deal with Sophie being massively experienced from her first adventure? Bearing in mind this is set after the first game, but before she pops up in later games. But still, she was pretty beastly by the end of the first game. And the answer, well, this is rather clever of them. What they did is, they completely ignored it. They hope to distract you enough with some boobs and maybe you'll just forget all about it. Okay, that's not entirely true. Sophie starts out at a whopping level 20 with a couple of skills, and she makes the excuse of not knowing all the alchemy off the bat due to this world having ingredients that she's never seen before. Fair enough, they could have handled it much worse. I have to admit, I enjoy Atelier games for a quadfecta of reasons. The characters, the story, the battles, and the alchemy. Atelier Ryza 2, the last mainline game, it was pretty much perfect in all four of them. Atelier Sophie 2, however, stumbles on a couple of them, and considering we're still in the story section of this review, you can probably guess where the problems are for me. The premise is really interesting, but the pacing really suffers a lot. It starts fast but begins to lose steam somewhat, and I know there are Atelier fans out there chuckling at themselves thinking what an idiot, talking about a series known for its glacial pacing, known for its ability to stop the main plot at any point it can try. I get it, but those constant cutscenes were always welcome because you love the characters. Here, well, I didn't love them so much. Not that there's anything particularly wrong with them, but they all felt a little bit forgettable, and I wasn't as interested in them as I usually am. And the game suffers from multiple occasions where the plot makes you go somewhere, but when you get there, you find out that actually you didn't really need to go there, or you can't get any further, so then you go back to the Atelier. That happens various times with slightly different variations. It's kind of frustrating. Not that I'm saying this plot or anything is bad, it just didn't grip me like I hoped it would. Now onto the gameplay, and I do apologize in advance. I played most of the modern Atelier games, but I played so many in such a short space of time that they've all kind of melded together into a big mush in my brain. So I apologize if something I've said here has already been done in previous entries. I'm liable to forgetting that, and I'm sure you can understand. Thankfully, the gameplay here is really excellent. I do enjoy the fact that even though Koei pump these out faster than humanly possible, they almost always shake them up between entries, even just a little bit. The battle system and alchemy system are completely different to Ryza 2. In the battles, we have 6 characters, with 3 on the front line, 3 waiting in the wings. Here we have the ability to use twin attacks, by which the current attacking character has the chance to use a skill and then switch with a backline character who will also use an attack. If you use their weakest attack, you get to do them without using magic points. While you won't have enough TP to do this all the time, you'll find yourself constantly switching the characters, making the battles feel incredibly dynamic, especially when it comes to boss battles, who are generally the only monsters capable of hanging around long enough to get into a real tasty flow. This is perhaps going back to a more simple era, as Ryza 2 was kind of a hybrid of turn-based and real-time, but the fact that you'll be using the entire party all of the time feels very satisfying. Some of the enemies have a strong aura around them, meaning they have a shield, basically, that need taking out before you can deal any real damage, and it is a good way to extend some of their battles with the little monsters a bit more. Sometimes you'll only be able to take the shield down reliably with only one attack from one party member, so again, everyone gets to feel useful at some stage, which, that is commendable. Also, a big feature is that battles are jumped into straight away, with no loading times between you striking the enemy and the battle getting started. Amazing how a game with almost limitless cutscenes stopping you from going from A to B has this kind of quick in battle system. It's kind of ironic. Also, just to speed things up even more, something that's become a staple of the series, you can speed up the battles either 1.5 or 2 times the speed if you're just doing a little bit of grinding, not that you really need to. There are little mini games now when it comes to collecting some materials. You have your pickaxe, your scythe, your fishing rod and such. Well, with some special areas in the world, usually a bit larger than the other gathering sites, you have little mini games to take part in with each tool. That's really simple, but it does shake things up nicely. Plus, you can earn some nice bonuses for the materials you collect. I particularly enjoyed the bug catching one. Now, alchemy is a massive part of the series. In fact, it's why it's made in the first place. And despite having 11 games in the series, you have to give them credit once more for trying to shake things up with each entry. I promise I'm going to stop saying shake things up. Atelier Sophie 2 goes back to a variation of the puzzle-like game found throughout the mysterious trilogy, or quadrilogy now, whereby you have a massive square divided into smaller squares. Each ingredient then fills up that square. Depending on where you place them and what elemental affiliation they have, you can awaken hidden abilities within your new creation. It's very in-depth but also very accessible. To anyone who's played any type of puzzle game like Tetris or whatever, you just get it straight away. There's absolutely no need for explanation. But it is powerful and has fun about it. You really have to consider how to squeeze the absolute best out of the puzzle pieces that you get with different ingredients. I mean, I really did not know I could spend so long trying to perfect a piece of cloth to its utmost potential, but here I did. When it came to Ryza 2, I can't particularly remember what I said about the alchemy stuff. I probably said it was really good because I gave it a really high score. And I can't bother to go back and watch that review. So I did the stupid thing and the more difficult thing, and I went back and played Ryza 2. And it's really shocking how different they are. For as good as Ryza 2's system is, it is not the most welcoming or immediately intuitive. Sophie 2 feels like you have unlimited potential and absolutely tons of freedom, which is what Atelier fans dream of, I think. Even the basic stuff, I'd find myself hand-picking the ingredients and almost always doing it by myself rather than doing the auto-add like I've done in other entries. It's just really satisfying packing all these squares into one bigger square. It reminds me of the Resident Evil 4's inventory system, which I think we can all agree was the best inventory system ever. Overall, in terms of the gameplay, I think it's really fantastic. It's kind of more of the same, but like always, they find a way to make it feel better or different, and I'm not going to say shake things up. The production value, though, does seem a little bit lower than Ryza 2, if I'm being honest. While it's not a massive downgrade, I think Ryza 2 does look better overall. The designs are far more interesting. It feels more unique, like a lot of thought was put into it, but the main hub town here, it's really quite bland and flat, I'm sad to say. It doesn't feel like a bustling city at all. After a few hours in the game, I felt more inclined to just quick travel around everywhere, which I almost never did in Ryza 1 or 2. Now this is available physically in both Europe and North America at retail, and I believe there was a premium box edition on Koei's web store. Links are below in the description if you want to order it and support us at the same time. Digitally, it is of course a premium price like most Koei games, especially in the niche Atelier series. It's $60 for the standard edition, $70 for the deluxe edition, which contains more costumes and items to make your life easier. Obviously a bit of grifting from Koei, but it's what they're known for. Plus there's a $115 edition which contains the season pass. I'm not a fan of DLC in general, so it's hard for me to see the value here. The game itself though, well, if you enjoyed the other Atelier games and you paid this kind of price for them already, then you'll probably get your money's worth with this one. It is a shame there's no English dub like the original game, so it does feel a little bit devalued, but it's a recent trend for the Atelier series, probably part of the effort to actually get a simultaneous worldwide release, which, that's a great effort on their part. I don't know what to say. It is a niche series and you have to pay the price. But I'm not surprised if you balk at it. If you need more of the backstory on the whole mysterious trilogy and see Sophie beforehand, then I also recommend checking out the physical release of the Atelier Mysterious Trilogy, where you can get all 3 previous entries on one cartridge and plays in English. Links are below in the description for that with our discount code. Overall, yes, in my opinion, it is a little bit of a downgrade when compared to the utterly fantastic Riser 2, especially in what that game did so well in creating a fantastic world with wonderful characters and an intriguing story. While the premise of Sophie 2 is strong, it didn't quite have the payoff. Aside from Sophie herself and maybe one other character, who does have a very interesting background, which I won't go into due to spoilers, they didn't leave much impact on me. I'm probably not going to remember most of these people after I finish the game. Where Sophie 2 does excel in though, is in both its combat and alchemy mixing. This game keeps it more simple, but still keeps in the depth. I think Risers 2 confused a lot of people. It wasn't massively intuitive, but here we have a very accessible yet powerful mixing method. So if you're here for the combat and alchemy and can forget the story, you're in for a great time. If you really care about the story, it may be somewhat disappointing. For me, I'd give it an 8 out of 10. Alright guys, thanks for watching this review. Big up to our executive producers, Dane Wilkinson, God of Resin, Boombox, Brett McLean, Jonathan Rumor, Santa Tartaruga, Alexander Cato, JCross7776, Elissa, Punkidusa, Michael Del Polito, Cartoon Soren, Robotech, Z, Raven Knight, Thorn Metal Luna, Parsnip Coffee, Government Fat Cat, Issa, They, Mental Traveler, and Granter, plus you. Yeah, you watching right now. If you watched all the way through, leave me a potion emoji in the comments and I'll give you one back. That shows me you are the ultimate legend. Please check out my reviews of the other Atelier goodness and I'm sure you'll enjoy it.